Everyone knows the names at the top. OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA. These are the companies dominating headlines. The ones being discussed in boardrooms, government hearings, and dinner table conversations around the world. But here's what nobody is telling you. The biggest winners of the AI revolution are not the companies you see on the front page. They're the ones you've never heard of. The ones operating quietly, deliberately, behind every system, behind every product, behind every headline-grabbing announcement made by the names you do recognize. And right now, while the world watches the visible players compete for attention, these invisible companies are collecting something far more durable than attention. They're collecting money. Quietly, consistently, at a scale most people would find difficult to believe. To understand how this works, you need to understand one of the oldest dynamics in economic history. During the California gold rush of 1849, thousands of people flooded into the American West chasing gold. The story that gets told is the story of the miners, the adventurers, the dreamers, the ones who struck it rich. But that's not where most of the money went. The people who made consistent, compounding fortunes were not the miners. They were the ones selling shovels. The suppliers. The infrastructure providers. The companies that made money regardless of which miner succeeded or failed, because every miner needed their products to operate. And the AI economy is running the exact same playbook. Right now, there is a gold rush happening. Billions of dollars are pouring into AI development. Companies are racing to build the next breakthrough model, the next killer application, the next product that will capture the market. And behind all of them, a quiet group of companies is selling shovels. And they are getting extraordinarily rich doing it. Let's talk about the first category most people miss entirely. Cloud infrastructure providers. When an AI company needs to train a model, it needs compute. Enormous amounts of compute. And very few companies own enough hardware to do this themselves. So they rent it. From cloud providers. Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. These three companies control the overwhelming majority of cloud infrastructure used by the AI industry. And every AI company, from the smallest startup to the most well-funded lab, is paying them. Continuously. At scale. Here's the number that reframes everything. The cloud infrastructure market is projected to exceed $1 trillion within this decade. Not because of any single AI breakthrough, but because every AI breakthrough requires infrastructure that these companies own and rent. They don't need to build the best AI. They just need to own the pipes that all AI flows through. And they do. But the cloud giants are still names most people recognize. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about the companies that are truly invisible. The first category, cooling and power management. AI data centers generate enormous amounts of heat. A single high-performance GPU cluster can produce as much heat as an industrial furnace. And if that heat isn't managed precisely, the hardware fails. This is why companies specializing in thermal management, liquid cooling systems, and precision power delivery have become critical infrastructure for the entire AI industry. Companies like Vertiv, like Eaton, like Schneider Electric. These are not names that appear in TechCrunch articles. They don't get mentioned in AI product launches. But every major data center being built for AI relies on their systems. And as the number of data centers multiplies, which it will, at an accelerating rate, the demand for their products grows in lockstep. Vertiv alone has seen its revenue tied to AI infrastructure grow at rates that would make most tech companies envious. And they're doing it by selling the unglamorous but absolutely essential systems that keep AI hardware alive. The second invisible category, fiber optic networks and data transmission. AI systems don't just need compute. They need connectivity. The ability to move massive amounts of data between servers, between data centers, between continents, at extraordinary speed and with minimal latency. This connectivity runs on fiber optic cables. And the companies that manufacture, install, and maintain these cables are experiencing a demand surge that most analysts didn't predict. Companies like Corning, which manufactures a significant portion of the world's fiber optic cable, are directly tied to every AI infrastructure expansion. Every new data center requires miles of fiber. Every expansion of existing facilities requires more. Corning doesn't build AI. It doesn't train models. It doesn't even sell software. It makes glass. Extraordinarily precise, extraordinarily pure glass that carries light across continents. And right now, the AI industry cannot get enough of it. The third invisible category, and this one surprises almost everyone. Industrial real estate. Data centers are physical buildings. And someone owns the land they're built on. Someone develops the facilities. Someone leases them to the companies that fill them with servers. This has created an unexpected boom in a sector that has nothing to do with technology on the surface, data center REITs, real estate investment trusts that specialize in owning and operating the physical facilities that house AI infrastructure. Companies like Equinix and Digital Realty own hundreds of data center facilities across dozens of countries. They lease space to the cloud providers, who lease compute to the AI companies, who build the products the world uses. Equinix alone operates in over 60 markets globally. Its revenue is tied directly to the demand for AI compute, not because it builds AI, but because it owns the buildings AI lives in. Real estate. In a technology revolution, the shovel sellers are everywhere. Now let's talk about the category that might be the most surprising of all. Energy. AI is an energy business. We've covered this before on this channel. But what we haven't discussed is who is quietly profiting from the energy side, beyond the utility companies. The answer is, specialized energy infrastructure firms. Companies that build high-voltage power substations specifically designed to serve data centers. Companies that engineer redundant power systems ensuring that AI infrastructure never goes offline. Companies that develop the software managing power distribution across complex facilities. And increasingly, companies involved in alternative energy generation, because the biggest tech companies have made public commitments to power their AI infrastructure with renewable energy, which means they are now signing long-term contracts with solar and wind developers at a scale that is reshaping the energy market. These energy infrastructure companies aren't building AI, but they are being paid by the companies building AI consistently, under long-term contracts, at prices that reflect the critical nature of what they provide. There's one more category, and it might be the most overlooked: enterprise software that makes AI usable. Building an AI model is one challenge, but deploying it inside a real business, integrating it with existing systems, ensuring compliance, managing data governance, tracking performance, that's an entirely different challenge. And it's a challenge that has created a massive market for specialized enterprise software companies that most consumers have never heard of. Companies like Palantir, which builds AI-powered data platforms for governments and corporations. Companies like C3.ai, which creates enterprise AI applications for specific industries. Companies building the middleware, the APIs, the integration layers that allow AI to actually function inside complex organizational environments. These companies sit between the AI model and the business using it. And they charge for that position handsomely, through licensing fees, subscription models, and long-term enterprise contracts that provide revenue predictability that consumer-facing AI companies can only dream about. So here's the picture that emerges when you zoom out. There is a visible AI economy. The one in the headlines. The one where companies compete on model capability, on product features, on who can generate the most impressive demo. And then there is the invisible AI economy. The one where companies compete on infrastructure ownership, on supply chain position, on long-term contract relationships, on the unglamorous but absolutely essential systems that make everything else possible. The visible economy gets the attention. The invisible economy gets the money. And the investors, the insiders, and the strategists who understand this distinction are quietly positioning themselves in the second category, while the rest of the world debates which chatbot is smarter. This is the pattern that has repeated throughout every major technological revolution in history. The railroad era created more wealth for steel companies and land developers than for the railroads themselves. The internet era created more durable wealth for cloud providers and fiber companies than for most of the dot-com startups that captured the headlines. And the AI era will be no different. The loudest voices in the room are rarely the ones collecting the most money. The quiet ones, the ones building the pipes, the cooling systems, the power infrastructure, the real estate, the integration layers, are the ones whose position compounds over time. Invisibly. Consistently. Relentlessly. And by the time most people understand where the real money went, it will already be somewhere else entirely. This is the invisible economy. And now you know where to look.